Okay, for those watching this online, this is the July edition of the Hampton Road Ship Model Society meeting. We're on to the show and tell portion. I have somehow misplaced our USB extension cable, so we're working with a limited camera thing. So when you guys bring up your models to the front, if you could bring them this near corner, we'll get a better online view of them. Anyone want to go first?
Sure, I'll go.
All right.
Along the latest of my ever-growing fleet of little boats for the Olympia project. I'll pass this around. There's really not much more to talk about. It's a 30-foot steam launch, and it's just the beginning phase of it. As you well know, it's a cast urethane hull, and in the interior, it's a variety of flesh it out.
When it makes its way to the front, I'll put it in front of the camera for those online.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, we can't see anything.
Dean, got a question.
Yeah.
When you're making the, it's a two-part process. Make plug all.
Oh, yeah, I made a plug out of wood and then made a rubber mold from that and then cast the shell.
Then do you also make a plug for the top part, or is that?
No, in this case, all the shells were cast hollow because I was going to build the interiors. All I wanted was a shell. It was not a solid cast.
Thank you.
Any other show and tell? We're really light on show and tell today.
I just wanted to point out, I brought in the USS Arizona. This is gifted to me by the guy that owned the Denby Hobby Shop. It's part of the display case there. If anybody is interested in acquiring it,
Okay.
deal you can't refuse.
Hey, Greg.
Yep.
This is Joe. We're still seeing Timothy Wood's
Yep.
screen.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
I will replace it in just a moment.
Yeah, we're having trouble with the speaker only function.
I'm trying to figure out how to tilt this stupid thing. There we go. Give me just a moment. I'm messing with the camera. Okay.
That's got it.
I'll bring this a little closer if you don't mind.
Right. About 3 feet long. It's based on a trumpeter plastic kit. Has aluminum cannon barrels. Very nice kit.
Which kit is that, or is it scratch?
He said, do you know who makes the kit?
Trumpeter kit, spelled Trumpeter. I believe it's a Chinese outfit.
Wow.
Very nice kit. You want to read about it.
Trumpeter's pretty popular.
Very popular. Yeah.
Any other show and tell?
Yeah, I have one.
Okay, great. My apologies to our guest, Mike. We normally have a lot more to show. Don't be discouraged.
I have one. I'm just trying to organize my pictures.
Who that spoke up? Was that John?
Yeah.
Josh.
And I have one as well. And I have one as well. Greg, this is Tom.
Yeah, so do I. It's more.
Okay, great. Good.
Make me last then.
Okay, I guess mine's on.
Yep.
Okay. So this is the 1/24 model of a cross section of the Charles Morgan. I hope you can see it okay.
Yeah, we can.
Not all of the stuff is attached to the top deck yet, but everything is kind of placed in where it's going to be. One of the things that's pretty nifty about it, this tri-works here, the brickwork, is actually 1/8 by 3/8 inch pieces of cork. and have it all, and have you glue it all up and then paint it red and then put a plaster over it and then wipe it off with a wet cloth. And it really does look like old brick.
Hey, John,
Yes,
can you put your hand or finger down just to give us an idea of the scale?
yes. It's quite large. It's 1:24. And one side of it is planked. The other side is left unplanked. The unplanked side, I'm just beginning to put the hoist on and so forth on this side. The other side is fully coppered.
Sounds like something fell.
Just a little piece.
A minor detail.
So it's coming along. It's pretty close to finish, not quite. So
Really sharp.
I should have it done by probably the next meeting. All right.
Really looks good.
Beautiful.
Miniature of ice on the back there.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's a little something.
Go back here.
Yeah.
That's actually a hen coop.
I have two questions for you, if I may, real quick. What did you use between the bricks there to show the mortar?
To build a what?
Mortar between the bricks.
Oh, that's actually joint compound.
Okay. A second
Joint
question.
compound, and you put it on there and smear it, then use a wet cloth and wipe it off down to where you want it. And it really does make it look like an old brick job. It really does.
Yeah. Okay. How about the harpoons? What did you use for that? And how did you make the spears on that?
Make the what?
Harpoons. How did you make the harpoons?
Oh, those aren't harpoons. Those are actually trying tools. It's what's used to move the blubber around and get it into the try kettles.
Yeah, I know what they are. How did you make them?
Well, the actual ends were cast. And then I just attached the wooden handles to them.
Came as part of the kit that way.
That's right. Yeah, Blue Jacket does a really nice job on details. Very nice job.
Okay. That's really nice, John. Good work.
Thank
Move
you.
on- Move on to Mort.
For that modeler who was having some issues with the rigging, the Lenarth Pearson book is very basic and very detailed. The lifts, the braces, the slings, the jeers, everything gets a page in a book, and it really clarifies rigging. It opens it up and you can see that how to do it. And I'm sure it's available through your library or possibly Barnes and Noble or Amazon online, but it's really a great book.
Can you move the book up so we can see the author's name at the bottom? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that one came up at our last auction.
He put out 2 books.
Okay.
You know what's funny about that book is you can download it for free if you Google it, it's out there on PDF.
It's
Yeah.
worth its weight in gold. I mean, I've used it for almost all my models when I rig. Even now with the Victory, it's great. That between that and Longreach, I mean, it really makes it very clear. And as far as my Victory is concerned, let me see. We're coming along. I'm slowly starting to rig it and attach the yards and the masts.
Got a lot of ends hanging down.
That what I do is I rig the boat off the ship. I attach. It's easier for me to attach everything off the ship, and then I do the shrouds and the ratlins last, because this way I can actually lay the masts down on the table and attach the perils and everything, and it's just easier for me because I don't glue the masts with a brad. to glue the yards with the brad to the masks. I let them hang free like they did back in the day. And it's just easier for me if I do it that way. And that's about where I'm at right now. I also been using Elmer's clear glue. I started using it on my hammocks, and it dries a little bit clearer than the Elmer's school glue, which is diluted white glue. And I found by accident, but it just seems to work better.
Hey, Mort,
And that's it. Thank you.
hey, Mort.
Yes,
Two things.
yes.
Peterson's book is excellent, and Peterson's background is he was a draftsman. So the illustrations, his pictorial illustrations, his isometrics are phenomenal. Okay, so it's a really, really great book. But a caution, okay, is that it is particularly set post 1800 British practice. Okay, so while you use that book, realize that if you're before that period or after that period, or if you're doing a US ship or a colonial ship, you might want to supplement it with Lee's masting and rigging.
I
Lee's
do.
Yeah,
I
Lee's
do.
mast,
I have Lee's also.
yeah,
But I
Lee's,
just thought this is more basic.
yeah,
and
yeah.
it might open
Peterson,
his eyes a little bit more.
Yeah,
Because Lee's
he's-
a little bit more sophisticated.
yeah,
I mean,
Peterson,
Great. Lee's helped me a lot with my Traveler.
Yeah.
For my Bowsprit.
yeah, he's,
Lee's Long Ridge, but also he helped a lot. He's got it there also. But this, I think, for him. That's what that point was. No, I know. I agree with you, Tom. Couldn't agree
yeah,
with you more.
Peterson is very good, because I agree, Lee's book is very difficult to follow. So, you follow it where you can, and then you use Peterson, but yeah, so, well, Pedersen, I'm sorry, wrong pronunciation, anyway.
Yeah, here's Lee. This is Lee's.
Yeah,
And it's also a very good book.
yeah,
But
Cool. Look forward to seeing more progress on your victory. It looks really good.
thank you.
Anyone left besides Joshua?
No, I guess it's just me now. All right. I'm ready enough anyway. All
well, I got something too, this is
right,
Tom.
go ahead, Tom.
If you let me do a screen share,
For some reason, I'm not seeing you on the list.
Should be Tom Ruggiero. I see him.
That's weird.
We don't see him.
Well,
Participants on the bottom panel.
There's 8 participants.
Are you not sharing? Yeah, maybe if his camera's off, that's why.
no, yeah, you see the screen? You
We
see
do
what
now, yeah.
All right, well, this is a model of the Titanic, obviously. This is based on the mini craft kit, and with sprues from Tom's Model Works, and also decks from a model, I forget the name of the company, but these decks, let me get you something, let me get you a better photograph, hang on. I'm gonna stop and then start again. All right. Screen share. And there we go. All right, you see that?
Not yet. No, it's coming up. It's coming up.
Okay, so these decks, I'm not a plastic, I haven't done plastic modeling for quite a while. A sticks and strings guy, but I'm building this model for a friend of mine. And I think you know the story of, it's the Titanic, whatever, and I had conversations, why do you want the Titanic? It lasted all of about 3 months, but okay, fine. But that's the bad news. The good news is that there is so much research on this model, on this ship, especially after the wreck was discovered by Ballard. And the Minicraft kit, I'm using the upgraded Minicraft kit that was released in 2001. So many of the upgrades that had to be made to this kit, the original kit went out in 1977. It was Academy model back then, and eventually it was released like 7 times, and this is the 7th iteration of the kit. So there are things that were fixed in the kit. There are 2 websites, at least 2 websites, where you could get a lot of research, and you could also get deck plans. And I think I mentioned that last time I showed this at a meeting. These decks are not the typical decks that come with an adhesive on the deck and, like peel and stick. These decks, they're printed on wood veneer, and the coloring is excellent. So what you got to do is, it comes rolled up, and the sheet is about, I want to say, maybe 24 by 18 feet. And all the decks are printed on it, and for the different versions of the kit, there are decks for the different versions of the kit, if you have a different version. So what you do is you roll it out, and you take off all of the scribing that's on the existing deck, and then what you do is you lay it down, and I use, as was recommended, Gorilla Glue, Gorilla Glue, the wood version of Gorilla Glue. And it works very, very well. The websites give you changes that need to be made to the kit to accurize the kit. For example, if you could see my pointer, these electric winches in the kit, they come without the drums on them. So I scratch built the drums and glued the drums to the end of the electric winch. This is a vent that comes with the kit. These fair lead rollers don't come in the kit, so I made those from brass. Other things, while the kit is very, very good, the problem is that there are so many parts that fit together that some of the interfaces aren't right. And you notice there's a little space here between the wood deck and the rebate in the plastic. Well, that's because this bulkhead here was actually too far back in the kit. So what I had to do is I had to add it. If you check the research, you see that where the rails come together, they come together at a 90-degree angle. And in the kit, this bulkhead is actually a 1/16 of an inch back, which at 1/350 is about 4 feet. So it's obviously incorrect. I also put, you could see here a knee that I put, which is where the shrouds for the foremast will go. The Minicraft kit comes with all these stupid holes in the deck. And what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to get monofilament, snake the monofilament through the hole, tie a knot in it, and then just let it lay over. And it I don't work that way, and it looks kind of silly. So I accurized the putting these things. Also, there's like holes that I had to plug up because the shrouds, the kit has them sticking into the deck. They don't stick into the deck. They're actually mounted on the bulwark. So those are the kind of things that have to be fixed with the kit. But thankfully, there's a lot of, there are tons of resource information on this kit. And I'm having fun with it. And let me just go to one more picture. Which way do I want to go? This way, this way. Okay, we do a screen share again. And we go to this one. Nope, we go to this one. Okay, this is the aft well deck. And so the next thing that's going to go is the cranes and the gangways going down. This is the poop deck before I put the deck overlay on it. This is the second class entrance, and this is the second class restaurant and smoke room. Chuck Bauer, one of the NRG virtual workshops that was just done was done by Chuck Bauer. Chuck Bauer is an excellent plastic model builder. And he was commenting on these applique decks, these laminated decks, and he does have a good point. He actually masks and paints, airbrushes. He like masks his decks. He masks the plastic deck like 27 times and paints the individual planks. I'm not doing that. But point well taken. While these decks are very, very thin, I want to say maybe a 64th or less. In 1 to 350 scale, a 64th is a sizable thickness. So what you need to do is when you put these other things on top of this applique deck, you have to basically sand a 64th off the bottom. Or when you mount the subsequent decks on top of this, it just won't fit. So just a little helpful hints. This is not a beginner kit. This is an advanced kit. Even though it's just a plastic kit, it's an advanced kit. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. These hatch covers, I covered them with silk span and sprayed the silk span. So to give it the look of canvas. And this is another one of those electric winches with the 2 drums that I added. Anyway, so that's all I got. I'm going on vacation next week for a week, and then, the rest of the month will be with other things, but eventually, I'll have it done. And thanks for your time. Any questions?
Tom, did you learn airbrushing skills?
I am getting very good at airbrushing. I have 2 airbrushes. One is a gravity feed and one is a siphon feed. They're both internal mix. I thought I was going to need a higher volume of paint, so I started using the siphon feed. I used it once, and the cleanup was horrendous as far as how much time it took you to clean out all the tubes and stuff. The gravity feed is very, very quick to clean. Very quick to clean. So yeah, so it's I'm really getting good at it, reasonably good. The masking you learn, I could tell you that masking this hull, another workshop at the NRG, Kurt Van Dam did, how to mask the hull and whatever. Masking this hull was really tough because you have a lot of in and out plating. And doing the masking and burnishing, and on top of that, you also have rivet heads as well. So burnishing the masking tape down is very, very tough to do completely. But I think it turned out pretty well.
And you didn't have any experience airbrushing prior to this, did you?
No, none. Never touched it. I touched an airbrush once at a meeting where one of the presenters came in and he let me hold it and he let me spray a little bit. And that was about 15 years ago. And I hadn't touched an airbrush since.
Good, Tom.
Thank you.
All right, I guess it's my turn now. So, all right, I have 2 things I'd like to chat about. One thing is kind of a little bit of tooting my own horn. So me and, Ron Nielsen and I don't know how many of you are familiar with Ron Nielsen. He used to be a member of the Connecticut Club. He recently joined our club as he moved down to Bucks County. But this isn't him, by the way. One of the initiatives that him and I have been working on to sort of chronicle and document or at least create a legacy around some of our members' models that, some of our members just build exceptional models. They have several of them. they get brought in for show and tell, and sometimes for the Northeast Conference, and then you're lucky if you see them again, right? So as a mean, and during those times, the photos you may get may be very amateurish, right? Or the lighting may not be great, or what have you. So far, what Ron and I have been doing is, Ron used to be in his professional life, a professional photographer. So he's got a lot of that equipment, the backdrops, the professional camera and lighting and all. So we have been going to members' homes to take photos of their models in a professional setting. So we did Spence Dellin, and you may have seen some of his models posted on Model Ship World. A very, someone who isn't very well published, meaning, you don't see him much out there on social media, the internet, or Model Ship World, but builds exceptional models from scratch, very painstakingly, was a furniture maker by trade. So the next individual we worked on was Joe Jordan. So you probably have seen him at the Northeast conferences. This is him here. And we photographed his model. So this is his Dumas Chris Craft barrel back, where he'll tell you he did like 20 layers of lacquer on this thing. He does a lot of custom made parts that he then nickel plates. All of his models, for the most part, are RC and are able to go in the water and be ran. And this model was selected by the NRG to be in the calendar for 2023. So I feel very, this is another one of his models, the Typhoon. This is his Sub Chaser. But this is just kind of the initiative that we're working through to really kind of capture these models while we still have access to them. So I'm very excited that his model was selected, because we were going through this process. So that's one part of my show and tell.
Very nice. I've volunteered to go take pictures of some of our members' models as well. And they're decent photographs, but they're not as professional as that.
So then the other portion of my presentation relates to a trip that I recently took, and I'm going to do my best to keep it on point. However, I am going to digress slightly, so please forgive me. So my family and I went up to Acadia, Maine, and we took a trip up there, and there was a heavy maritime component. But I did want to share with you, for those of you that are interested in other topics, and I'll kind of go through this quickly because I know it's not ship model related. We stopped at the New England Air Museum, and it was a really excellent museum. This enormous hangar. They had as you can see, a B-29 Super Fortress in there. Some sport planes like this BG. Some planes that were right around the turn of the century. These really good examples of commercial planes. They had this control cabin from the Goodyear blimp, which I found really interesting because this was the fuse panel for all of the lighting for the Goodyear blimp. I don't know how you find which one's bad. The Pan Am Express, the P-47, the Huey gunship, all decked out with Gatling gun and all. So it was a really neat museum to kind of check out on the way up. And another place we stopped, which is a little bit more on point, is the Maine Maritime Museum. And I don't know if you've ever been there in Bath, Maine, but really interesting museum. It's where the Wyoming was built, which was my draw to it, because they have this monument to the ship, which is a model that is currently being developed as a kit by Blue Jacket. It's one of the largest cargo ships ever built, the 6-masted schooner. And they have this really interesting sort of monument that kind of gives you the impression of the scale. And this is kind of the overall layout of they have the main exhibit area up here in letter A. They have a boat ride that you can do, which is up at letter F. And then similar to Mystic Seaport, they have various buildings that you can walk through. a blacksmith building, a building where they milled the wood. So I was very lucky that I was able to get my trailer in there. I was a little worried about that when I was traveling to this thing, whether or not I'd be able to drop in. One of the really interesting exhibits they had was of the snow squall. They have a very small section of the bow, but what they show you is it really gives you a nice sort of visual of the copper plating that was on the ship. And what you see tagged here is where you can actually, they found examples of the stamping of the company that made the plates. So if you look really closely, you can see, the company stamp on the plates. So that this is where they talk about the sheathing stamp that you can see on the plates. Really nice models. Here's the Wyoming that they have on display. It's the same scale as what the Blue Jacket is developing. This is a section of a stem that really showed you some of the carving of ships at that time. This was really interesting because this was actually a couple of ship graves, I call them, that actually existed that Todd was telling me you can still see these. These are right along Route 1 going up to Maine. They've really, you can see them just below the water now, but for a long time, you'd be able to just see these two ships sitting right offshore. So they have a nice little diorama of it. One really interesting specimen of a birch canoe. Again, and all of their models were really centered around ships that were built in the Bath Iron Works. So I took a boat ride and we got to go around the dock where ships are still being built there today. So this is a brand new Navy ship that is not in service yet, not yet taken delivery.
I did a summer internship at Bath Iron Works, and I was not even aware of this museum. I don't know how that happened. How far out of town is it?
It's literally next door, south of it.
Really?
Yeah. I
I
worked
don't
there for 12
know
years.
how I missed that.
My first modeling club.
Was there
worked out in that
was there for a whole summer, never saw all that.
Originally, it was split into two places. There was the yard down there that he's talking about. And there was a building that was just up, I thought, in town, that housed the initial museum of models. It's now, I think, been moved down to a shipyard.
It was 32 years ago. It was in that.
Yeah, I was there in '88.
So if you ever find your way heading up that way, I definitely recommend stopping there. Part of the boat ride also included a pass by this replica of it's called the first English ship built in America. It's the 1607 Pinnace, Virginia, and apparently there's some things you can do. I wasn't aware that this was also an attraction, but I thought it was pretty cool to see. Let's see, go there. So amongst one of the buildings, they had a building that was dedicated to lobster boats. So they had some interesting exhibits there. I really enjoyed this buoy marker that kind of told you what all the colored buoys meant. And then this was the mill house where they milled the wood, and it was all driven by these belts and all. So it was a fun exhibit to walk through. This is a diorama they had of the rope walk. At one point, this is the blacksmithing station, metalwork, and this was us camping. And then amongst our trip at in Acadia, there's a car museum called Seal Cove Car Museum, and it was kind of similar to the Roger Waters collection. It was a private collection of Richard C. Payne. He was he really focused on cars around the turn of the century, the sort of the brass cars, of age. And when he passed away, some of his cars were sold to basically fund this museum. And this, to me, I felt like was somewhat connected. It's a 1913 Peugeot Type 150 boat tail skiff. So it was built to kind of, replica, how ships were made. It's layers of mahogany planking fastened by copper rivets. It had a 40 horsepower motor, four cylinder. It was built by Jean Henry, not French, Labourdette. And I just thought it was the detail in this car was just really, really interesting. And the woodwork for a car. And they had all kinds of other interesting specimens there. They had steam powered cars. I didn't know that there was electric vehicles back then. Apparently they were favored by women and doctors because there was no cranking of the engine to get it started. They ran on I think it was 84 volts. And they had a 75-mile range, which I thought was really impressive. So if you ever find yourself in Acadia and you're somewhat interested in really old cars, this I thought was a really interesting thing I never knew existed. This was old GPS. So essentially you could buy these discs that would give you turn by turn how to get to places. So you would get to the starting point, you would plug your odometer in it, and as you drove, the disc would turn and tell you how to get to different places back in, in the early days when road signs and things were, inconsistent at best. So really good trip to Acadia. Forgot the last part. So I stopped at Blue Jacket, spent 3 hours there, hung out with Al Ross. I did not see the Wyoming because it's at Nick's house being rigged. Al Ross is, he favors, when I asked him about which ships were his favorite to build, he's like, it's all work, so for him, it's his day-to-day job. But he says, if you were to preference one thing over another, he likes Steel Navy. Rigging is just not something he enjoys at all. So sounds like the dynamic there is that Nick kind of takes that on. This is the Oregon, which is, if you follow his, I don't know how many of you are on Facebook, but Al actually posts very regularly, almost daily, the progress of his design of this ship as well as the Wyoming on Facebook. So it's been really fun to watch him develop this kit. And he was incredibly welcoming. I mean, was an excellent host. Here he's making the lobster boat because what happens is Blue Jacket they have built models for pretty much they try to have them for other kits, but sometimes they don't because customers come in and will buy the model. And when that occurs, Al Ross has to go back and remake the model so that they have a model on display for the kit that they're trying to sell. Well, what invariably happens, what I learned is that Al will then remake the kit when he's rebuilding it. He's like, oh, well, we can improve this and, use laser cutting here, which might not have been available when the kit was originally designed. So when that happens, it's really an opportunity for Al Ross to kind of go in and make certain improvements and updates to the kit. So that's why, for example, when I was talking to him about the four piper, the 310 destroyer that they sell, I was like, yeah, I have a kit for that. He goes, oh, which version do you have? Because apparently he went back and rebuilt it and then made several improvements to that kit. Really found it interesting to learn that just some of the things that go into making a kit. And what I really found exciting that I didn't know that he does, but I think other kit makers do this, is that he actually, as he's trying to design the kit, he thinks about okay, I'm going to make, I'm going to have you bend something into a certain form. He'll provide the jig to help you do that, or he'll provide a laser cut jig to help you sight where holes should be drilled. And I really thought that was really kind of caring of the customer to help them, little tricks and stuff to help them get through their build. That's just even included in the kit. This is their hull replicator. So basically they have a master hull that they use. So most of their hulls are solid wood. Basically what they'll do is they'll take several pieces of wood, they'll glue them together. And then once that's set, they'll put it in this machine and it creates a lot of dust. But it just like almost like a, getting a new key made for your house, right? It just goes along the contours of the master version of the hull, and then the machine just goes through the stock piece and carves away the unneeded bits. This is the form that they use to make the various fittings out of Britannic metal. What happens is the hot metal gets poured into this form, and then it goes into it's basically a machine that spins it very quickly and pushes all the metal to the outside. This is the room where they do all that, so you can see all of their forms that they have nicely organized here on the right-hand side. And here's a model of the Sequoia, one of the kits that they sell. And then here's a picture of all the parts. Here's a picture of parts that came out of the mold. So what they'll do is they'll go through and pick off all the pieces off the end, and then this giant metal piece, which is the centerpiece, which is basically just slag, they'll just throw it back in this cauldron up here, remelt it, and then make more parts out of it. So there's almost no waste. So really fun visit to Blue Jacket. I did end up feeling compelled to support the hobby, and I did buy a kit of the USS Ira. I felt it was the cheapest way I could walk out of there. And so we went to Bar Harbor. And in this picture, not a very great picture because I was using a cell phone, but that four-masted vessel is a windjammer, and they provide tours. You can ride on that ship for a 2 or 3 hour tour, which I thought was kind of interesting. I watched her raise sail and take off for a little while. So really fun trip. Thankfully my wife is very accommodating to all of my maritime interests, and there was plenty of it to find up in Maine.
Gosh, Blue Jackets for sale. I want you to
I know.
I didn't know.
I know. I had and have had conversations with Nick about that.
Yeah, Nick is
But I
retired.
don't think I want to move to Maine, honestly. To a town with a population of 2,600. You make one person mad, you're going to be completely ostracized from the whole community.
Ben hears and come hears.
So that's my show and tell for now. Thank you.
Yep. Any more?
Good show and tell.
Yeah.
That was.
Thank goodness for the people online, eh? People here were worthless. Nearly so. All right.
Gene, can I put you on the spot? Ask how you're feeling about ModelCon?
Oh, I'm not really sure.
Okay.
There's some interest of others around that are planning on going up there. And we have plans to discuss it shortly, right after the meeting, and
All right.
see what we can do. I have the time. It's just a matter of committing.
Well, it's my favorite time. I get to hang out with all my Hampton Road folks. So I hope I get to see a lot of you up there.
It's always a fun time. It really is.
So Gene's boat never made it to me. So I never put it on the camera like I said I was going to.
That looks great.
A lot of work.
There you go. Okay, that's show and tell. Let's take a 5, 10 something minute break, and then we'll have a presentation.
Quick 5 minutes.
Yeah. 9 airbrushes.
Wow.
One of them is a wreck. I just pulled out. Just give one of my better